more things that you can do with it. It works much better in a variety of ways. Sunglasses, you don't want to be without most of the time because, you know, you can do essential harm to your eyes without them. A compass, of course, goes without saying, helping you find your way. And here is some toilet paper.
And isn't there natural remedies that we also cover?
Right.
Right?
And bug dope, it's always good to have a little extra bottle with you just in case you really run into a lot of them. The cup, so useful, not only for drinking out of, but for cooking in, for keeping things hot by the fire and so on. Of course, cord, with all its different purposes. It may be just initially to tie something onto your pack. A water bottle, I think that goes without saying. You do not want to get dehydrated above all things. A small first aid kit, Band-Aids, and a couple other little items.
Okay.
And the ever-loving bug shirt when the bugs get really bad or you want to...
I really enjoy this one,
right. And some trail mix for a snack. And the garbage bags for survival, all the different things that they can do.
It is amazing the amount of uses that you can
A pad
create.
to sit on in case the ground is damp or uncomfortable, and then the ubiquitous hat goes with me everywhere. Can't beat it.
Oh, great. On another item on this DVD, Dick has already covered the absolute essentials needed for a day hike. But Dick, if I wanted to add more to my pack, which only weighs 3 pounds, what could I add?
Things to make you comfortable and to back you up in terms of survival or a lost situation.
Right.
So things pertinent to that would be extra matches, a bit of a candle for fire starting, a heavy-duty lighter for the same purpose. Now, very important to have along extra clothing to keep yourself warm. Weather can change, etc. And here's our lovely wool toque.
So now Canadians call this a toque, and Americans call it...
A stocking cap. Right. Now, going along with that, here is a wool pullover that, again, takes care of the upper body.
Right.
Then, here, rain chaps. Old ones that I made myself, but they're still functional.
Good for you.
Yeah, they go from here down to here, and they work. This is a anorak, which is both wind and water repellent.
Right.
Then a little bit more of food in the way of dried fruit. This little hatchet backs up either your belt knife or your Swiss knife. And if you want to build a shelter, any number of various things that you could use that for. And last but not least, our lovely scarf.
Oh, Dick. Is this what you would call my colors?
That's class.
Whoa there, just a second, Dick. I was just thinking, if I lost my pack, I'd be in a lot of trouble, wouldn't I?
Well, you would be if you didn't have the right things in your clothing and in your pockets.
Of course.
So, and these are things that should be with you all the time whenever you're going into the bush.
Yeah.
Let me start out to show you here. There's my waterproof match case.
Right?
Okay. And that is like really locked in there. Over here on this side, a multi-bladed pocket knife. Okay. Plus a small belt knife for heavier duty stuff.
Okay.
Then we come around here. Cord.
The ever-essential cord.
You can't have too much cord. And of course, summertime in just about any country here, the
Mosquito repellent.
right. You don't want to be without that. In the left breast pocket, my compass, which might be in my pack, but I like to keep it with me. I like to keep it close because then I know I always have it on me regardless of what happens. My daily supply of matches is in that pocket, so I don't use up the ones in my emergency supply. Over in this pocket, little notebook, and my pen.
Yeah.
Because I may want to take notes about natural history, or I may want to leave a note if I get lost and somebody's trying to find me. I might even use it for starting a fire, you don't know. And then last but not least, my scarf.
Your scarf.
All the things that does.
Oh, that's great to know. Let's keep going.
All right. Hi, Laura. What you got there?
Hey, Dix. Somebody gave me this knife.
Oh, yeah?
No idea what to do with
Well, I'll tell you what, you've got one of the best utility knives that you can get your hands on.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, notice this long blade. It does, you know, a lot of your chore work, cut your bread, cut your grapefruit, you know, whatever it may be. And the beauty of that blade is that it locks. It cannot close on your fingers when you're using it, okay?
Yeah.
Here we've got an excellent little crosscut saw that will cut wood, bone, etc. There's a fine little pair of scissors. This is a can opener. That's a small screwdriver on the tip. There's a larger screwdriver here, a bottle decapper, a wire stripper. Hey, man, some tool.
That's amazing.
Let me show you. This is the more usual size that people carry. It contains basically the same kinds of tools that you have there.
Right.
And here's one which is packaged so that you've got compass and flashlight with it for a nice little package if you just want to carry one thing small. Want to see some others kind of things like this? Okay.
Yeah, great.
Or the stuff we looked at before, those were utility knives. But if you want to have a whole toolkit in your pocket, these are what can do that. You notice here we've got two different kinds of cutting blades, we've got pliers, we've got screwdrivers of different kinds. This is a can opener, that's a chisel, here are more chisels over here, etc. Now, here's another version of that by a different company, and you see it's just a little bit heavier duty, thicker all the way through, weighs a little bit more rugged maybe. Now here's one where we have a fine pair of heavy duty pliers, like that, huh? And here we go to like a mini version, which includes some of those same things, but something that you don't mind carrying in your pocket at all.
So is this the case for?
They fit into something like that, yep.
Great. Look at that, isn't that compact?
Laura, for me, binoculars are probably the most important piece of supplementary equipment that I carry with me when I'm in the bush.
So why the difference in sizes, Dick?
Well, here we have a very lightweight pair that's in my day pack or around my neck almost all the time.
Right.
When I'm on the water, and particularly rapids, traveling rivers, these are waterproof. When I'm hunting and in the mountains and I'm looking for game, that type of thing, the larger binoculars work beautifully. And I use these on the water, on the shore, in the bush, and in the mountains. On the water, you can encounter a variety of conditions. You may be on flat water and you're looking to see what the wave action is like up ahead of you. When I'm on the river, of course, I'm checking for rapids to see if they're something that are serious or not. I may also be checking for campsites, and when I'm doing that, I'm looking for dry wood. Of course, there are animals of different kinds, and loons, waterfowl, that type of thing that you wouldn't want to miss. When I'm on the shore, before I embark in my canoe, I'm looking to see what the water conditions are out there. And then if they're rough, I'm looking for sheltered bays ahead. And I may be looking for a portage sign. When I'm in the mountains and the bush, I'm looking for game, I'm looking for birds. I'm looking for the line of least resistance if I'm traveling in country that has no trails. And I'm always keeping an eye out for water, such as spring sights and the gleam of a stream ahead. And when I get my camp made, I can use them to light my fire.
Hey, Dick. What are you doing there?
Well, I've got a knife that's too big to carry on my belt, so I'm tying it on the outside of my pack so it'll be handy for clearing trail, that type of thing.
Right. I noticed you actually have quite a variety of different cords here. I'm wondering, what's the use of all these?
Well, the uses are multiple. It's the kind of item you don't want to be without in the bush, because you can use them for spare shoelaces, you can use them for guying a tent, you can use them for fishing line substitute, you can use them to tie your pants around the bottom to keep bugs from coming into it, etc.
So your main point here then is for all the viewers out there, cords are an absolute essential part of to be in your backpack on your person.
You definitely want cords with you. I don't travel all the time. I got plenty. Now, we got different kinds. Let's go back in time. Here's rawhide cord. Now, this has been used, of course, for millennia, taken from animals. And it has certain purposes that it's especially good for, but for a general purpose, because it tends to not be as strong as the synthetic cord, and the knots tend to jam when they get wet, we don't use it very often. So going on to other cords here, This is a core sheath type of cord with parallel lines, cords inside of it, so that we can strip it and use smaller units if we need, as for a fishing line. Now we have here braided cord, which is very strong, and because it's braided, it tends to resist abrasion better if it's in a place where it's moving, like on a guy line, for instance. And I have those in different colors so that things can be color-coded. And then over here, we have rope, and this rope is, again, this is a braid, and that's a laid rope, and these are painter lines off a canoe.
Oh, right.
Which are used for, of course, attaching the canoe to shore, to help anchor it, and that type of thing.
Oops.
And now, talking about attaching things to your body, here's a good example here. Your knife has a cord attached to it, which you can attach to your belt or to a belt loop, so you're not going to lose it. And then one of mine, of course, that's very important to me, is to have a hat that's not going to go flying off in the wind, and there's my chin strap.
Oh, that's great, Dick.
So, but we can put up a shelter in a very few minutes if you want to see that happen.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
All right.
Right, let's go.
Okay, Laura. Here we go with a slippery clove hitch. A very strong knot, very easy to tie, and will release instantly. Same procedure again here. Well, 4 cords and a tarp, and here we are. Good shelter under which to cook, under which to sleep, and for shade when it's hot.
So basically, Dick, you are saying to me and all the viewers, you should never leave home without lots of cords of lots of sizes.
Amen.
So you know what? I have got another idea for use of a cord.
What's up?
And a cord makes a great clothesline to dry things off. So I had pitter-patter around my sleeping bag last night.
Right. Well, they didn't get in it anyway.
No, they didn't. Now, speaking about sleeping bags, I'm actually interested in purchasing a sleeping bag, as I'm sure some of the consumers out there are as well.
Right.
What I need to know is, what are the main questions I ask when going to purchase my bag?
All right. Number one would be the purpose that you're going to use the bag for.
Okay.
You're going to backpack it, you're going to carry it around in a car, you're going to take it on a horse packing trip, whatever. All right? Then secondly, what is going to be the minimum temperature that you're going to use that bag at? That is going to be the flag that you're going to use for buying the bag with certain amounts of fill. Okay? And then we have weight and we have bulk, and those, of course, become very pertinent when you're going to be putting it on your back.
Right.
Not so important in the other areas. So let's take a look here. This is a rectangular type of bag with a flannel lining, synthetic fill, and generally used for car camping, base camping type scene. Okay, too bulky to be carrying on your back. Too heavy also. Now here we go to a synthetic fill, which is a tapered mummy type bag, and which keeps weight down and also price. We're going over here to this one. Now this is a very light summer bag, but it has the advantage of being able to be used, because of its ample cut, as an overbag.
What's an overbag?
Well, an overbag is one that can fit over the top of another bag and increase its temperature range radically.
Oh, okay.
So that way this lightweight summer bag could be made to be used to a much lower temperature by adding that overbag. And now we get to the premium material, which is down. Now, down gives you more warmth per volume and weight than any other material. It weighs roughly about half of what the synthetic fill amount would be for the same temperature range. Okay. And, of course, it's expensive. This one is made for very low temperatures, etc.
Right. Now, if I were to purchase one of these bags and I ended up in an environment where it's colder, what could I do if I didn't have this?
Okay, a couple of things. One, you could fill your water bottle, put it around the middle of your body in the bag. You could zip 2 bags together if you had that option. That will increase the warmth a lot.
Right.
And then you could have a silk or a fleece liner and they also would drive the temperature range down for your bag very nicely.
So overall, 3 main points. Purpose, what you're doing with your bag. Temperature, how cold the environment is going to be.
Yep.
And the weight and the bulk, whether you're putting in your back or in a canoe or whatever you happen to be doing.
You got it.
Great,
All
thanks
right.
very much. Ooh. One thing when you're in the outdoors and you're camping, you absolutely must have a good sleep. Now, sleeping in a patch of moss berries is very romantic, but it's not exactly ideal. What we need to do is find out about sleeping pads. Now, I don't know very much about them, so once again, we have to refer to our ever-faithful teacher. Dick!
Coming to your rescue
As
for a good
always,
night's sleep.
I need a good sleep.
All right. Let's take a look. I have 3 generic different types of sleeping pads here.
Okay.
This is a closed cell foam, which has absolutely no airspace in it. That is why it is so firm.
Yeah, that is true.
No water can absorb in it, and it's a very good insulator. You could lay that down on a cake of ice and go to sleep on it in terms of the cold.
Okay.
However, as you can see, it doesn't let you down very easily, and you need to be pretty young and athletic to be using a pad like that on a regular basis. Let's take a look here. Now we have open cell foam, which you can't see, but you can tell by squeezing it like this, you can see how soft that is. And so this is much more
lovely.
comfortable. Right, and usually a better choice for most people than the Ensolite pad. But of course, you know, part of that depends on your pocketbook. And now here comes the luxury liner. This is open cell foam surrounded by an inflatable pad. And because of the open cell foam, it is almost totally self-inflating. All you have to do is open the valve and the air goes in.
Oh, that's great.
So here you have something which is absolutely deluxe pad to sleep on, has small weight, lightweight, and very little bulk. So you get all the advantages here other than cost.
Okay.
So-
So in summary then, for the consumer or myself who are interested in these products, what are the main points when I'm looking for one
All
of
right,
these?
we're going from Spartan to luxury, depending upon what you can afford
So cost?
or what the absolute needs of your trip may be.
Okay. So cost, weight, and bulk. Great. I think I'd like to try these out.
Why not?
Okay.
All right.
It looks like we're both interested in finding out about packs. So we're going to turn to Dick to find out what kind of packs there are and what their various uses are.
Okay. First pack, canoe packs. Number 2, backpacks. Number 3, day packs.
Okay. So what do you have in front of you right now, Dick?
These are canoe packs. A canoe pack is designed to keep center of gravity low in the canoe and be very high capacity.
Right.
As you can see here in this Frost River pack, lots of capacity. Very tough canvas, long lasting. My first pack as a teenager was a pack just like this. Now, over here, we're looking at a more contemporary form of it in a heavy-duty waterproof material. You notice it has straps on it also for carrying. Now, the big advantage here is that when you take 3 turns of this down like that and then lock that together, everything in there is waterproof. You also have a top flap, as does that pack, under which you can put things when you're making a portage. You know, you may want to take off your shirt, you're too hot, whatever it might be. And of course, if you want to keep things waterproof in here, you just put them in a large plastic bag and tie the top of that down.
So when we're looking for a canoe pack, the basics are either something that is waterproof, a man-made material, or just our basic traditional canvas.
Right, and large capacity and low center of gravity in the canoe.
Right.
Now, Laura, we're going to talk about backpacks.
Okay.
We want to talk first about the suspension system. This consists of an internal frame, which you can't see here, and a heavy-duty waist belt system, because the pack needs to be designed in the bag so that it shifts the load to the hips. That's the easiest place to carry it.
Right.
If you carry it on the shoulders all the time, you're going to get very tired. We want heavy-duty pack cloth, as you see in this pack. It has accessory outside pockets that can be removed. And down here, it has a zippered compartment. Up here, it loads at the top. Now we take this one. Everything is essentially the same as the other, except this one is totally top loading.
So overall then, the difference here is that if I were to purchase this pack, the advantage is that though it does have zippers, I can access it from the bottom as well as the top. And if I purchase this pack, then it has no zippers, so there's no potential of the zippers failing, but I can't access it from various areas. It's only top loading.
God, you learn well, you know that?
Thank you.
We'll look at day packs now, probably the most used of all, because everybody from school kids carry them, right on through. We'll look at a very traditional one here, which has no frame, but it is very rugged, very simple, very strong, waterproof material.
Right.
Has a nice, large capacity. It's got inside zippered pockets. It's got a flap area here for loading things that you want to grab quickly. It'll last you a lifetime, basically, and this is one of those great Frost River products. Over here we have a more contemporary type of day pack. It's got a main pocket here for your larger items, and then 3 zip pockets in this area. It also has a small internal frame with a waist belt. So now, zippered pockets here give you access to your film, to your water bottle, to whatever it might be. And because they're not taking a lot of stress, these zippers will last well.
And it allows you to compartmentalize all of your items.
That's it.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so overall then, we've got 3 main packs that we've explored. We've got the canoe pack, we've got the backpack, and then what most people use, which is the day pack.
Right.
Dick, the viewer and I still aren't sure, though, how to load the pack.
Okay. If you snap on the segment on loading, I'm going to show you how.
So, I need to buy a tent. And like many of you out there, I have so many questions to ask about the various kinds of tents. But I just don't know quite the specifics I need to focus in. I know somebody who has the answers to that. Hey, you, come on over here. Let's go up. So, I need to know the absolute fundamentals when buying a tent.
Okay.
What do I need to know?
Well, there are 4 of them. Number 1 is size. Number 2 is the structural form. Number 3 is the weight, and the other one is the bulk. Because if you're carrying it in a car, that's one thing, or on a horse, but if you've got it on your back, weight and bulk become extremely important.
Right.
So now here we are looking structurally at a form called an A-frame, and you can see that from the way the poles go here. It's very rugged tent. It's traditional, and it's much less expensive to produce than many of the more current forms. So it's still on the market, still a good, adequate tent.
Okay. Now, this on the ground, what is that?
That is a fly. And if you'll just help me put that on, I'll
course.
point out to you here first that this is breathable material, which of course would soak through with the rain. So the fly, which is waterproof, solves that problem. And then it also, when it's latched in place, gives you an airspace between the fly and the tent itself, which then keeps it warmer when it's cold and keeps it cooler when it's warm.
Oh, that's great. But there's other kinds of tents other than the A-frame.
Absolutely.
Okay. Can we go check those out?
Let's.
Okay.
Now, Laura, in terms of size, structure, weight, and bulk, we are looking at everything here is minimal. Structure, as you can see, is like a cocoon. It's supported by 2 simple bows, which of course collapse to form a very small package. This is a tent for somebody like a lone cyclist, maybe a climber, Maybe somebody going up hunting high in the mountains, looking for absolute minimum everything. It has a fly that goes with it to give you the, you know, final protection from cold, wind, rain, snow, whatever it may be. And when you break it down, it goes into a package about that big, weighs about 1.5 pounds, and almost put it in your back pocket. But I got something a little bit more luxurious to show you.
This is huge, Dick.
Right.
Wow.
It's very roomy, but let's take a look at the room that we're in right here, which is the vestibule, where we can store gear, dirty boots, and cook in it when the weather's bad. So that adds a lot to this interior space, which can be a very luxurious 2-man tent or a 3-person tent. The other things we're going to talk about when we get outside where we can see them a little better.
Okay.
Okay, Laura, follow me. We're going to take a look at the structure of this tent and see what kind of advantages it might have. Now, the vestibule that we mentioned before is a place for wet clothes, dirty boots, gear, or cooking in when the weather is really lousy.
Okay.
Now, here we're looking at structure. You can see how the frame defines the 6 sides to this hexagonal dome.
Yep.
And the dome also spills wind very well and carries snow load very well, so that for a 3 to 4 season tent, you have some serious advantages here.
Right. Okay. So, in summary then, come on up here, Dick. In summary then, we've got 4 main areas that we should be looking at when we're questioning the purchase of a tent.
Right.
We've got size.
Right.
Which is?
Well, for 2 men, 3 men, 4 men, and how much space you want when you're in there.
Right. Structure.
And of course, we looked at the A-frame first, going from that to a hexagonal structure with the advantages that they offer.
Okay, weight.
And weight, again, of course, depends on whether it's going to be on your back, whether it's going to be on a horse, in a canoe, in a car.
Okay. And the last one?
Bulk.
Bulk.
And so, again, if it's in your pack, you want a minimal size. In the other situations, it's not that important.
Right. So, it seems to me like I've got a lot of my questions answered. I hope you have too. I'm off to buy my tent now.
All right,
Welcome
let's go.
Me?
Yep.
Hey, Dick. Looks like you're about to go fishing.
You got that right.
What's up with those orange garbage bags?
I just never go in the bush without these. I might want to put a fish in one of them. You want to hear about some other really interesting uses?
Sure.
All right. One of the most important uses for these bags is for rain gear. It's created very simply by cutting a hole in one end to put your head through, cutting a couple of holes for your arms, and you've got a pullover. Now, another use that's available here from these is to use them for shelter. And that can be done by slicing them open down the sides and then using some pebbles and cord to create yourself a good overhead protection from rain or from sun. Then, if you want to, and you need some sleep, here's something that you can stuff with moss, you can stuff with leaves, and also provide insulation for you. That is in the area of bedding. Now, Laura, in case you're lost, these are excellent signaling devices because of their color. They can be placed in a prominent spot where a searching plane can spot them and find you. We may use them for bringing up water from the lake. We may be going out looking for food. It may be different kinds of herbs, and this gives us something to gather them in. So, Laura, you see, this is one of the most versatile pieces of gear that you can have with you.
Hey, Dick. Listen, I know we talked about going for a canoe ride, but this is absolutely miserable. And I'd rather, if you have time, we could quickly go over some knots that you think are effective.
I'd love to.
Okay, let's do that.
All right, first knot, figure 8 is what it's called, and you can see why as I tie the knot, because as I do it, it forms a figure 8.
Right.
Very quick, easy to tie, holds very well, and a strong knot.
Great.
All right? Now, when I'm using my cup out in the canoe, I don't want to lose it in the water, So what I'm going to do is tie what's called a clove hitch, where I go over the cord and then I come around and I go under the cord. Look at that, locks.
Perfect.
Okay, now I've got the baler here. And so what I want to do is have a knot that I can use if I want to stretch it out to bail in a different part of the canoe. So I put a slip knot on it. That way I can change the position of it very nicely. There we are.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm going to get my pack in. And for tying my pack in, I'm going to use a surgeon's knot because it's a very, very secure knot. And here it starts out like a square knot, but I take one more turn. Notice how that locks. This is the same, by the way, that's called a surgeon's knot, because this is what a surgeon uses to tie the cord as he's sewing you up.
Great.
Now, we would like to have a knot which slides and locks. I've used a clove hitch down there to anchor this. Now I'm going to take this around to this tree.
Okay.
And I'm going to go around once like an overhand knot, but then I come around one more time right on top of that. Then I take it through on the outside. Now I have a knot which, when I cinch it up, it stays in place, or if I release it, it stays in place.
Okay.
Pretty neat, eh?
Well, hey, you know what? You seem to know what you're talking about. I want to know what I'm talking about, so I'm going to go practice my knots.
Let's
okay?
do it.
All right. How's this? So, Dick, what do you have there now?
Well, I've got some tools for sharpening knives and axes.
Why do we need sharp axes and knives?
Well, they simply don't function. They're not efficient.
Right.
But also, very importantly, is they are dangerous because when the axe hits a surface and it's not sharp, it can ricochet. The same thing's true of a knife, and if you're in the way, big trouble.
Of course.
So, what have we got here? We've got an axe file that's got two different faces on it. It works just fine for axes. Here's a carborundum stone, which is a standard stone that's commonly used. This is an axe stone, which is used in a circular fashion with the axe, and then we move from the Stone Age into the Diamond Age, and we've got tools that are really amazing and that we can put to use right now.
Great, let's go.
Okay. Well, Laura, let's just see how this sharpening business is done.
Okay.
I've got this big stone here, which is the kind that you would have in your base camp or at home. And with that, I'm going to take a knife such as you would have along for doing fish or that sort of thing. A few drops of water on here out of my drinking cup, and some strokes like this. You can hear this. You can hear the action of the diamonds on there.
Yeah.
You hear that sound? Okay, that's all the strokes it takes. I'll wipe it off. We have a sharp edge. Why don't you give it a try?
Really? Awesome, thanks.
Oh! Dick! That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is. Right.
Do you want this back?
Now, what we need to do is sharpen the most common knife that campers carry, which is a Swiss knife, as you know. And so I'm going to apply the same kind of technique here, only I'm holding the knife blade still and stroking the knife blade. Then I turn it over, and I'm always stroking into the edge, you notice. And I turn it over, and one more time there. Wipe it off. It's ready to go. Okay? Now, how do we do an axe? Same basic principle. And here now I'm going to do the same kind of stroking action as I did before. Into the edge like this. Turn it over, knock off the burr. It's ready to use.
Fantastic.
So,
well done.
Anyway, why do you have a sharp tool in the bush? Whether you're cutting a loaf of bread, opening up a fish, or whatever, you want that plus the safety factor.
Safety.
Here, let's go do it.
Hey, thanks.
All right. Laura, I'm going to show you how to make a one-match fire.
What's that?
Well, a one-match fire is probably the single most important wilderness skill you're going to learn, because with that fire, you get heat, light, warmth, something to cook on, something to signal with, something to keep you happy even.
Right. Okay. I'd like you to show me how to do that.
All right. Okay, 3 stages in the building of a fire. First, we have to collect the right material. This will include twigs, pitch, and kindling. Then we have to build it. And we do that going from small to large, starting with small twigs at the bottom that have pitch attached to them. This is so we have them loose, lots of air, then we going to larger material from that point on. Then we need to light it, strike the match. The match can be done on the thumbnail, it can be done on a rock. I like to use the little file on my Swiss knife. Now, if it happens to be raining, it's very easy to grab a couple of slabs of bark and construct a roof over it so you have no problem with the lighting or the burning of the fire.
So I'm sure we all can see Dick has made a wonderful fire. And I have to say that